Marshall, roll call.
Mr. Armour?
Here.
Mrs. Denny? Here. Mr. Dougherty?
Here.
Mrs. Essler? Here. Ms. Hilferty? Here. Mrs. Jones? Here. Mrs. Powell? Here. Mrs. Stone? Here. Mr. Tinsley?
Here. Next on the agenda, 2.01 is the approval of minutes. This motion is to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of August 24, 2016, September 21st, 2016. Do I have this motion?
So moved. Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 2.02 is the invoice listing. This motion is to approve the invoice listing for August 2016 through September 2016. Do I have this motion?
So moved. Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 2.03 is the treasurer's report. Ms. Powell?
As of July 31st, 2016, PennDelco's balance was $20,339,566. During August 2016, local, state, and federal revenues totaled $27,624,259. Disbursements were issued in the amount of $5,024,917. As of 8/31/2016, PennDelco's current balance is $42,938,907. The motion is to approve the Treasury report for August 2016. Do I have this motion?
So moved.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 2.04 is the budget transfer report. This motion is to approve the budget transfer report as presented. Do I have this motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 2.05 is the supplemental financial information that includes expenditures, revenue, and student activity. Superintendent's report to the board. Dr. Steinhoff?
Thank you, Mr. Tinsley. Tonight, I will open my superintendent's report by reintroducing Mr. Ed Murray, who has spoken to the board before as financial advisor from the firm of Benning and Scattergood. Mr. Murray is here tonight to provide some guidance and background information to assist the school board in its planning for potential improvements at Sun Valley High School. Several years back, our school board made the improvement of our physical school facilities a priority. While we have accomplished much, we still have a high school that has not enjoyed a school-wide renovation of significance for decades, and that is showing. The architectural firm of MM Architects has come before the school board several times over the past 6 months with some plans and possible phasing for improvements to the high school that would minimize the disruptive effect of construction on students and begin to get us to a place where we can be as proud of our flagship facility as we are of the staff and the students who are there and the things that are happening. But before work begins, we should square away details about how we might pay for that. And with that, I will yield and introduce Mr. Murray and then also Mrs. Marshall. Thank you.
So as Dr. Steinhoff indicated, what you have before you is a presentation, and it's designed to do two things. It's designed to first look at your current debt. Since I don't see all the faces from before, it's always instructive to go back and look at, so we have some grasp where the school district is now, look at what the impact would be in a phased construction program. And that's really what we're looking for here. We wanted to make sure that you understood two things. That we are taking a phased approach, and with that phased approach, we think that given where interest rates are and where we think that they might be in the future, now is probably a good time for certain reasons that I'll go into, that you take a portion of what your project might be and fix your interest rates now. We're currently very, very close to 50-year historic lows. The last time interest rates were this low, Kennedy was president. So it's been a great, great time overall for interest rates being really low. So if you're going to be a borrower for projects, and that presumes that the projects are going to be projects that you all agree on too. But I didn't want to leave you with the idea that this presentation locks you in or commits you to all or a portion of the project. Just a portion that we think that you have to have this reasonable expectation. So we wanted to make sure we gave you the opportunity to fix a portion. So what we're going to ask you tonight is to approve us to move forward with potentially doing a borrowing of no more than $10 million. And the reason that that's important is there's two rules. One, which is called a bank qualification rule, which means if you keep your issuance to under $10 million, you get about 10 to 15 basis points better in interest rates. So a quarter basis point is 0.25. This will get you between 10 and 15. And when you're borrowing a large sum of money, it means a lot. It's a great deal. So just by keeping to $10 million, you'll get that. The other thing is, when you keep to $10 million, you can call the bonds or ask the investors back. You can redeem them if interest rates go lower in the future. You can call them in 5 years. If you do more than $10 million, you have to wait 10 years. But in this case, if you keep to $10 million, you can do it in 5 years because purchasers of the bonds will only require 5 years. So it's a different class of people that actually buy these bonds. So it works out very nicely in that it gets two. So I'm going to ask you to do that. So you're allowed to do $10 million in any calendar year. So I'm also going to suggest that you close this issue, if you're so inclined, before December 31st. That'll use your 2016 allocation. And what that'll do is it'll give you the flexibility that I want you to have for the remaining several years. It'll provide for you to do another $10 million if you so want, and the projects warrant in 2017, and then maybe another one in 2018, so that maybe all three could be bank qualified with 5 years. Or maybe interest rates go very, very fast upwards, and you want to move quicker than that if your projects are so, or you so want it. This will provide all the flexibility to do any scenario in the future that you might want. But it all kind of presupposes that you would be willing to move forward on a portion of the project and close that in 2016. That opens up 2017 and 2018. So it really provides a lot of flexibility inside of what you may or may not want to do overall. So with that, I'm just going to go through really quickly. I don't want to go through every page in this entire thing, but just in the assumptions for capital planning, page 3, I kind of just went through that. We're assuming that the estimated, that the project is approximately $34 million. That includes the renovations to classrooms, auditorium, cafeteria, main office, site work, field, and that's the whole shoot match all together. That's our estimate for right now. What we're proposing that you do is fund what we would call a series of 16 for what we call the summer of 17 or part 1. So we're only going to ask for authorization for part 1, or what you need for what needs to occur over the summer of 2017 as you phase your architectural design. We've put this thing together so that the structure itself allows for phase 2 and phase 3. It allows for the next, so it looks like an odd schedule when I show you the schedule. But again, it's made so that it will go along with your current outstanding debt service and will provide for in the future, should you want to continue with the program, that you put that in there. So I want to look at the project. So on page 4, This is kind of what your existing debt service looks like. This encompasses, all the prior projects for Northley, for Coburn. So right now you can see debt service is at its highest level, and then you can see over time it's scheduled to phase down, which is about normal. There was projects done before, and so your debt service will roll off and there'll be nothing in 2038. That's kind of what page 4 says. It's kind of odd. It says that debt service goes up next year, but it really doesn't. We had a refunding last year, and we put all the savings in 2015-16, so your debt service temporarily went down because we refunded some bonds. So it's not scheduled to go up next year. It was just a cause of the savings. I didn't want you to think it went up next year. Page 5 is just what the debt service looks like. You don't have to go through that. But page 6 is kind of what we would estimate new debt service for the project, or the summer of 2017 project. So we're trying to stay to less than $10 million. You've got some outstanding leases, so we'll just have to watch to make sure we don't go over $10 million. But this would provide $9.4 million in proceeds for the school to undertake for the project. So when it's all said and done with, you'd get about $9.4 million in total proceeds. I made 2 little round red boxes there. One is the principal payment. You can see there's very small principal payments from 2018 to 2024. That again is to let the old debt service roll off before the new one comes on. So it'll delay for a period of years the principal payment, but it'll allow for Northley and Coburn and Aston, the projects, the elementary school projects, for that debt service to go lower, so that the debt impact won't be as high. But overall, what we've done here is we've made it so your net new debt service, there's no impact in 16-17, and then in 17-18, it's $149,000, and then in 18-19, it's $293,000. And then you see, once the principal payment comes on, it goes up, but your older bonds go away. So the net impact of that, you'll see, is on page 7 in graphic form. The very, very top, the light blue, is now this bond issue. So you see, overall, it doesn't increase the debt service from its high point to that point. So even when it goes up, it's going to go up at a later time. So the impact is not great overall. And then on page 8, I give you the total outstanding debt service. So the high would be $6.2 million at that point, which are probably approximately budgeted for now. I didn't ask the administration, but it's not a big impact overall in how it's done and how you budgeted for. I'm not going to ask at this point in public, but it's been higher. It's been up to 6.8 when we were at a high water mark, so it's come down a little bit. Even after we estimate this would go in there, your debt service will still would never be over 2.6 million with the new debt service in. Okay. On page 9 it is a kind of a quick schedule what it would look like if you authorize us to proceed and you want us to work with the administration. We'll have to get several documents together, engage bond counsel, put together a preliminary official statement or an offering document for investors, have ratings calls, stuff of that nature, and other administrative work. But we can get it all together. The board has traditionally in the past allowed us to use a parameters resolution, meaning we would ask you to approve a bond issue on a parameters basis, on a not to exceed basis, on your regular scheduled meeting on October 26th, and we would try to sell the bonds approximately 1 week later. We can't get everything together and all wrapped up and ready to sell the bonds and come back to you by that time frame. Moody's takes too long, state approvals take too long. But I don't want you to wait until later. I'd like to see if I can sell the bonds before the election, so that there's not any, I don't know what the outcome will be, but outcomes can raise or lower interest rates. I'd like there not to be any disruption, so if I can get into the market, sell the bonds before the election, and any potential problem that might create, I'd like to do that. But I don't want you to wait until your November meeting to approve it. So I'd like you to approve it on a parameters basis first, give the administration the authorization to, and the president of the board to sign the final purchase contract, and we'll lock in interest rates like 1 week after that. And then we'd be in a position to close, again, sometime before the 30th of December. We probably can do it sometime around the middle of December, you'll get the money. But that's kind of, what my thoughts are on that. If that's too fast, we can always do it in a different format, but that would seem appropriate in a normal kind of 90-day timeline from, basically October 1st to the 30th. As long as we can, get up and running with the unaudited 2016 numbers, which is always the difficult thing at this time of year. You're waiting for the audit. And, so that's kind of the way that it would look. On page 10, just for your information, again, this isn't, I wanted to make sure that I at least provided you with what would the rest of it look like if we did the entire $34 million project. So we would need to fund another $24 million. So this second issue, what I call series of 17, that doesn't have to be in 2017, but right now I dated it so that it would be November 30th, 2017. So more than a year from now, this would be the second issue. It would get $24.6 million for projects and get you the total that you would need, and it creates the debt service on that far side. Now the interesting thing is how this would look, and that's on page 11 in the graphic form. Here again, it fills in, it's the kind of fleshy color, and this wraps around the old once again. So now here again, you've got the impact is never greater than $6.8 million in total debt service. So again, going from where you were, so if I look, what is the impact from one to the other? It was 6.2, and it might go as high as 6.8. So the difference is about $600,000 annually. Did I create confusion?
I was going to ask you that question. Looking at it from the future, just have a vision for the other 20 plus. So I'm glad you had that. We're glad to get to that slide yet until you start bringing it up. You guys have any?
Mr. President, there's nothing for the board to do this evening. These were a discussion point that was brought up, the information that is provided here, as well as to Mr. Marshall. Mr. Marshall, my office will prepare the parameters resolution based upon the board's direction, along with Mr. Murray's office, based upon the board's direction after your next work session, and it'll be prepared for the October meeting. So there really isn't anything for the board to do this evening in terms of vote or indication of a direction for this board. This was merely an informative process.
Correct. Yeah, it wouldn't be until October. In October, you'd be asked to incur the debt, take all public action necessary through the Local Unit Government Debt Act and all those things, but we'll have it all prepared for that. And we'll, in the interim, create a 92-page book or thereabouts for investors, and we'll do all the other regulatory matters and your borrowing base and debt statements, and we'll get everything ready so that when we appear in October, everything should be slotted. And I'll be able to tell you pretty quickly. I mean, interest rates go up and down. I'm estimating here. Now, I won't have sold the bonds, but I'll have a pretty good idea because I'll be getting ready to sell the bonds in about a week or so. And I can give you a pretty decent indication of exactly what the debt service would look like. But we think it's going to be very similar to this. So although it's a little bit different, it's, it provides the funds that you need, and it kind of minimizes the impact. And in all essence, the state has rules that are very specific to this. They want you to create debt service so that either your debt service series by series is level or all your debt service is level. And that's to provide kind of an equal weighting for all taxpayers. If you undertook, a series of projects and everyone's going to enjoy it over 30 years, you know, you want to make sure that you don't layer on the pressure of capital projects on one group of taxpayers. But you want to make sure it's broad-based, so you don't want to stack a high school project on top of the Northridge project and on top of Aston Elementary. You know, this is in a way just kind of evening it out so that over a period of time, all taxpayers over that period who enjoy the building will have the same type of opportunity. It doesn't unfairly treat one group or another, and that's what its design was to do.
If the board approves the parameters resolution on the 26th, that gives you enough time between that night and the election to be able to go out to the market?
I think so. How quickly we do the 92 pages and how quickly Moody says we'll have a rating call and speak with the administration as to, you know, your fund balance and performance over the prior 2 years. We have a good model. I mean, we did the refunding in 2015, so the investor document as of 2015, so I only have to layer on 1 extra year. So should we be able to do that, you know, get it all together, you know, in 2 weeks' time, get to Moody's, have bond counsel has to review everything, tax language has to be reviewed. Is it, I couldn't do it, sell the bonds and be firm on the 26th, but I'm pretty sure I can do it and get it done before the election, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will continue to talk about this at the work session, like we've been talking about the last 6 months about the project. I think for the purposes of this meeting, particularly for the public that are here, what the board has contemplated are improvements at Sun Valley that would be done at a minimum of 2 phases and possibly 3 phases. And that maximizes the board's decision-making ability to determine whether or not to proceed with additional phases based upon the cost of the bids as they come in. There's no question there's certain areas in Sun Valley that are in desperate need of attention and renovation. Phase 1 that we are looking at for next summer potentially would involve a new kitchen, renovated cafeteria, properly sized faculty lounge, renovated C wing. So it's important not to forget about the classrooms, but the C wing, we would have renovated classrooms, and also be looking at potential work done in a nurse's suite and access and security improvements at the main entrance. So we're looking at taking this in steps and in stages, but we're very grateful for the board's willingness to consider investments in the last property that we have that has really been forgotten for some time, and it's the flagship school. We want to make sure that that school isn't forgotten. It's certainly not going to improve on its own, and we glad that we turn our attention to it at this time. From the Sun Valley facility to Sun Valley academic data, happy to report we received really promising student achievement data on the students at Sun Valley who took the ACT test this past year. Specifically, those students scored a composite ACT score that was the highest in Sun Valley history. Further, they showed gains in all of the tested subject areas. These impressive ACT scores, along with solid results on the AP tests, are positive indicators of our students' performance and their ability to do well in post-secondary career and college. Students that take these types of assessments, they're very serious. Take them seriously without a doubt, unlike the Keystone exams, in which high school students and some middle school students have to toil through and wonder why they are losing instructional time for such a test. 2 weeks ago, I spoke at the Pennsylvania House Policy Committee hearing that they actually held in our own Northley Middle School, and it was sponsored by State Rep. Brannicky. During that hearing, I argued against a return to the use of Keystone exams as a graduation requirement for multiple reasons. I also noted that under the federal ESSA law, states now have the option of using college entrance exams such as the ACT, PSAT, and SAT as a means to satisfy the testing requirements for high school. And that's something that we need to be doing in this state. And as PDE considers changes to the Keystone exams, it's my hope that they will consider the permission to use such commonly accepted tests like SAT and ACT to meet the testing requirement. It works in other states. I believe it should work in Pennsylvania as well. well. I want to thank the school board for their appointment of Mr. Patrick Sassy as the next principal of Sun Valley. He'll be starting here no later than November 21st. We're still awaiting word on his official start date, which we hope will be sooner. We can't wait to start his tenure at our great high school. From the high school to the middle school, on October 6th, Northley will host a team from Schools to Watch who will return to make an assessment on the redesignation as one of the prestigious schools to watch in Pennsylvania. One of just 34 from across the state, Northley received its first Schools to Watch designation back in 2014. The award recognizes schools that are academically excellent, socially equitable, and developmentally responsive. So we wish Northley good luck in our assessment. From the middle school to the elementary schools, tonight the school board will formally approve the new elementary report card template, although they have seen this quite a bit last spring. The new report card is a vast and substantial improvement over the previous grade report card that has essentially been the same for 17 years. Things have changed just a little bit since then. The school board was provided an original informal approval and a green light following the excellent presentation by Supervisor Danielle Murray, as well as the fine work product that came from the report card committee at the end of last school year. Parents are invited to attend an informational event detailing the new report card on October 4th in Northley Middle School Auditorium. From the middle school to our elementary schools, congratulations to Parkside Elementary. We learned this week they are the recipients of a $6,000 STEAM grant from 3M Corporation. The grant application was put through by teacher Josh Light, and in the award, it was noted that this grant will help increase students' grittiness, inspire a growth mindset, increase the problem-solving abilities and academic knowledge of students in science, technology, engineering, art, and math through a STEAM initiative using what's known as Little Bits materials and school-wide professional development to teach students the engineering design process. Tonight, we're also asking the school board to approve the creation of 2 new additional physical education and health teachers to add to our elementary staff PE teachers. We have an opportunity to significantly increase the amount of time students spend attending to PE and health by repurposing time formerly spent checking out books in the school library once per week. Currently, students only receive PE once per special cycle. The new positions, which will take the place of what will be 2 vacant elementary librarian positions, will permit us to nearly double our students' currently more limited opportunities in phys ed. The academic, social, emotional, and obviously personal fitness benefits of increased physical activity and instruction in health and wellness is compelling and clear. Phys ed, or gym, as it's commonly called by kids, remains one of the most popular classes for students. We will be introducing a new circulation model for the library through the use of library aids so as to increase the number of days or opportunities in which students can access the library to be able to check out materials. We see this as a continued evolution of our expressive arts offerings in a way that increases access to the resources that are in our libraries while expanding opportunities for students to participate in physical education and important health lessons more frequently. The elementary principals plan to move to 2 classes of phys ed per special cycle at the start of the 2nd trimester. Finally, I hope everyone in the community will consider coming out to the Sun Valley homecoming game, which will be held on Friday, October 7th. More information will be posted on our website, but it is always a tremendous community event. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Steinoff. Announcements for the public. In accordance with Act 48, the Sunshine Law, the board met in executive session this evening, as well as September 21st, 2016, to discuss litigation and personnel issues. Comments by members of the board? Just want to thank the 15 employees for Pendelco here tonight, for the school board, as well as for the school district. And also want to thank Mrs. Grady, the senior advisor, who invited the school board to be in the homecoming parade as well for next week. Next on the agenda, items for board information, 6.01, Legislative Council Report. Ms. Essler?
Both the House and the Senate are in session this week. They then will be on recess for a few weeks, followed by 6 additional session days before the election. There are no major education bills on the calendar this week. However, the House Education and Veterans Affairs Committee heard testimony on a proposed bill that will require students to pass a version of the United States Citizen Test on civics as a graduation requirement. Of course, everyone wants to improve civics learning, and there's a lot of support for the bill from members of both committees. Speakers who opposed the new graduation requirement pointed out that students learn by participating in instruction and educational experiences, not more tests. Although the bill will not be advancing during the brief fall session, many expect it to be reintroduced in some way in the next session. In the Senate Education Committee approved Senate Bill 1212. The bill requires each school district beginning in 2017-18 to provide opioid awareness education for students in grades 6 through 12. It also requires opioid awareness training to be included in the district's professional development plan. The Senate is also considering Senate Bills 1306, 1307, and 1316 that would add gender identity and expression to the list of protected classes in Pennsylvania. If these bills pass, they will overrule custom, culture, and the very demands inherent in human nature for privacy and safety, particularly for children in a school setting. It will also limit our ability to create common sense policies that act in the best interest of our students and leave school districts to deal with unlimited liability issues as well as other serious unintended consequences. It is clear that the Senate plans on voting on these bills. However, it is unclear whether they will take this up before the end of the current session or wait until the new session begins. And lastly, charter school reform has been discussed, but to date, despite additional attention on the issue brought last week by Auditor General in his audit report of the countless problems in the charter school reimbursement, it is not clear what House leadership plans to do with the charter school bill reform. Amendments are drafted, but whether or not the House will take it up before the end of the current session or punt it again until next session is unclear. That's the end.
Thank you, Ms. Essler. Next on the agenda, comments from members of the public. Seeing none. Tonight, the board will utilize the consent agenda to approve agenda items 8.01 through 820. Agenda items have been discussed in our study session for review. At this time, does any board member wish to remove any item from the consent agenda? That being said, I need a motion to approve agenda items 8.01 through 8.20. Go ahead.
Second.
Questions or comments? Please note, all contracts are subject to review and approval from the solicitor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Number 9 on the agenda, comments by members of the public. Comments by members of the board. One item, it was approved tonight, and we discussed it last week, and we did in the past, taking our study sessions on the road, so to speak, and to certain schools. And our next study session will be at Pennell in October. Like I just reiterated, October 19th will be our study session for October at Pennell Elementary School, and our regular board meeting comes back to the Service Center on October 26th. That motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.